September 10th, that will be the presidential debate, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. It's set. It's happening. How important is it for both of them for this to go very well?
June 27th, I thought, was the most important date in a long time in politics. This is, I think, going to eclipse that because I think people are watching the two of them like President Trump is being watched in ways like he's never been watched, and obviously the vice president is being watched in ways she's never been watched. She's going to have to be credible, consistent, authentic, not look to be driven by ambition for her change positions on important issues. And President Trump is going to have to be disciplined like he's never been before. He's never faced this kind of a political opponent, an accomplished, smart, elected woman in politics who I think has shown a tendency, Vice President Harris and other political iterations, to be, not when she ran for president, but when she was a DA and when she was Attorney General of California, to be unflappable. Not all the time, but if she can show an unflappable nature in this debate, and President Trump does not exercise discipline, he will have an impact on his campaign that I think could be damaging. Vice versa, if she does not lay out an economic plan that people can relate to, and people believe that I now understand why she's changed her mind on issues. If she can't do that, it will be damaging for her. So I think we will all be watching. The other thing, one of the things I've noticed in some of the polling down, and I know we may get to it, but it's interesting to me, looking at some of the tabs, and you and I'm a bigger nerd around some of these things.
You're a bigger nerd than me, that's true.
But we go through some of the stuff, and one of the things that stood out for me this time, I think that there are people in the 5, 6, 7 battleground states, 6 battleground states, that are afraid to say or embarrassed to say they're supporting Harris. We know that there's a group out there that's embarrassed to say they're supporting Trump. They didn't want, and his numbers have reflected that over the years. But I think that there are a group, and it's all around abortion. I think that there's some moderate Republicans or even conservative Republicans who don't like some of the idea of what Democrats are saying could be a reality if you elect Donald Trump again, and have said, look, things may be improving a little bit economically. Maybe I can vote for her. I don't know. I think the number is still larger for Trump, but I think we didn't have that with Biden. I think there's particularly some Republicans in some of these states. Some of the data suggest that could be, there could be that element too. So that makes September 10th, I think, that much more important to answer your question.
So I wonder what you think about the travel plans of the campaigns this week, because this is where I am a little bit more of a nerd. So I look at what they're saying and also where they're going and where they're spending money. And there was a time when Biden was still around and the candidate that it looked like Trump would be able to pick up New Hampshire, and he was making Minnesota and Virginia competitive. And then Biden's now, let's say he's off the scene. Harris chooses Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. It cuts her lead there after that. I don't think that they anticipated that. And now this week, Harris and company are going to New Hampshire, Minnesota, and Virginia, rather than the battlegrounds that you mentioned. So does that say that they're there to raise money, or are they concerned about those places and they think they need to visit?
Well, I think they're probably more concerned than they are trying to raise money. Remember, in 2016, when Secretary Clinton didn't get the Michigan or Wisconsin, I remember a race that you and I we were very close to, and very close to the principals. The Bush-Gore race, Vice President Gore didn't come to Tennessee, but for the last few days of that election, and he lost the state
by a lot, or not. I can't remember.
He lost by 2 points. But my only point is, I think that they are aware of those things, and I think they're smart to go there. But there's no doubt they understand that this. I've seen, you and I both have seen scenarios where President Trump gets close to 300 electoral votes. If the numbers bear out, and she gets somewhere between 290 and 300, Vice President Harris does also. So I think it's great when they go to these states. I think you're right. You know more than me, and know more than most people listening
Not
about
really.
what it means when these people are traveling these places and how they're spending money. But I think at the end of the day, it helps the country when they visit more than the 6 states. I mean, I hope
agree.
I hope it spans out, because that gives you, whomever wins, a little bit more of a mandate, as opposed to saying you want about
what a flex it would be for, and Donald
states.
Trump is doing this, I think, from a messaging standpoint. So instead of just looking at where he's going, it's who he's talking to. he's carving out an hour and a half to do a podcast with Lex Fridman, who has a lot of listeners. I remember the one I mainly listened to, his interview with Elon Musk, and also with Walter Isaacson about his book about Elon Musk. And I think he also did an interview with Mark Zuckerberg. I'm not an avid listener of his, but I listened to that. Donald Trump's done the All In podcast. He's basically, he'll talk to anybody. She, on the other hand, to me, this past week and a half since the convention, is losing airspeed and altitude. Like she came out of the convention on this high and then just sort of sat on it, and it got deflated over the time. And then I think her interview with CNN wasn't great at all. I guess maybe their campaign thinks it probably didn't hurt her. And so now I think we are tied.
No, I think anybody on the Democrat side that believes that the sugar high that the convention offered has persisted to the point that it's given Democrats a lead is not dealing in reality. And, the liabilities that both these candidates have and campaigns have are on for President Trump. His lead tightened and her lead has stalled.
Yeah.
Not lead, but the momentum has stalled.
Yeah.
Which leads back to the first question that you asked. September 10th is, so critical for both of them. And I hope that, I understand that the debate will be simulcast. I hope everybody watches, because however you decide, I think people ought to have a reason or a set of reasons other than I hate the other guy.
Yeah.
And if it turns out that Vice President Harris cannot articulate a clear vision on the economy, on the border, that she can't articulate a clear vision about national security, that's one thing. If President Trump can't do the same on the other side, I think that's what, whomever you're supporting, I hope you're able to say, my candidate laid out his or her vision, and I don't like the other guy.
Yeah.
But just to say I don't like the other guys, to start in the middle and the finish, I think is one of the poor reflections on our politics today.
The Washington Post had a piece yesterday that said Trump's team knows that they can't improve his favorables. Like, it's baked in. You like him or you don't like him, and there's nothing they can do. So what they need to do is drive up her unfavorables. And believe me, they are trying to do that.